Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am joined by the always amazing Eleanor Goldfield. She's normally here on Fridays, but you're getting a special treat because she missed last Friday.
And I can't be here this Friday,
But there she is. She did it.
I'm here now.
We got a lot of important stuff to cover. We're going to get into the Gaza peace plan, which in the last live stream I said I don't know why anyone would trust anything Trump and Netanyahu say.
Can we not call it a peace plan?
Whatever the hell it is. But now we have more information. Netanyahu himself has given us more information as to how this is a trap and how it's all bullshit. So we'll be covering that. We'll be covering the Gaza flotilla, the government shutdown that has just started. Does it mean as much as they make it out to mean? What will happen? Will we all turn to dust? I think it's quite possible. Also, Pete Hegseth, his big speech, his big racist TED talk to all the top military brass at the Pentagon, where the mainstream media is not very much covering the fact that he said the U.S. should be committing a lot more war crimes. I feel like that maybe should be the lead of a lot of those articles. But anyway, we're going to get into that as well. But let's start off with this so-called, it was a 21-point peace plan, then it became a 20-point peace plan. I don't know which one was dropped. Do you want to give any guesses as to what was dropped? My last live stream, I thought maybe it was that Trump gets a live pig once every week.
Oh.
But anyway, 20-point peace plan.
I like that. It sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
Oh, yeah, it does. Everybody, remember to click thumbs up, click subscribe. We're more censored than ever before, so it would really help if you did that. And yeah, leave a comment. But so let's get going on how exactly this is a trap. This is from Mondo Weiss, does amazing work.
Yes, they do. And so basically there are certain points of this plan that seem very clear. Oh my gosh, what are we behind?
Yeah, I put a new background. It's,
I was like, wait, where are we?
We're floating in space. It's like a utopian society. I wanted to make it feel like we were in a building, and if we look outside, that's what's outside. Isn't that charming?
That's so disturbing. Okay.
Disturbing. I thought it was uplifting.
This is feeling very Plato's Cave. So basically the proposal that is not really a proposal, it's a demand, that it includes the parts that are very clear are that it would include the release of all captives in Gaza, all Israeli captives in Gaza, dead or alive, within the first 72 hours of the deal. Israel would then release 250 Palestinians from Israeli jails, which is a small percentage of the thousands that they hold. And humanitarian aid would flow into the Strip. Now, whether that's enough humanitarian aid to actually address the ever worsening concerns and issues is not touched upon. Those are really the only three parts of the plan that have any kind of time frame or clarity about them. The plan suggests a gradual withdrawal. I don't know. What does gradual mean to you? I don't know.
But furthermore, why would you ever trust Israel and the United States to say this?
We're getting to that. A gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Strip, but leaving up to 70% under Israeli control. So it's with the withdrawal and then that's not a withdrawal.
Yeah, I don't think you understand what words mean.
International and Arab forces would take over running Gaza, which would be demilitarized, not Israeli demilitarization, just anybody who could potentially engage in self-defense against Israel would be demilitarized. The military capabilities, quote unquote, of Palestinian resistance factions would be destroyed. At least suggested by this, Palestinians would not be forcibly removed from Gaza en masse, but the idea is that they'd want to, right? An independent, apolitical, I hate that word because it's not a thing.
But there's no such thing as apolitical. If there were such a thing, this would not be it.
This would not be it.
What they're calling apolitical is the opposite of.
An independent, apolitical commission would run Palestinians' everyday lives and also run the reconstruction of Gaza.
Which would be led by...
Hold on.
Okay.
The commission itself would be under the supervision of a board of peace headed by Trump
And Tony Blair.
Wait, no, he's part of the commission. He's part of the commission because I think he did a great job in Iraq.
Yeah, a great job in helping to invade and destroy 1 million people, kill 1 million people in Iraq. I thought he did an excellent job.
I thought he did great, so I think it really makes sense to include him here.
He added that refined British accent to mass murder.
Well, and let's be honest, the Brits have a lot of experience violently oppressing people, not just in the region, but like in Palestine, right? Because if you'll recall, way back in the day, before the state of Israel was concocted, the Brits basically ruled over Palestine. So
mandatory Palestine.
So as I said, Hamas and other Palestinian resistance would be forced to disarm. They would be excluded from any participation in running Gaza, directly or indirectly. The Palestinian Authority would take no part in the administration of the Strip as it undergoes its own series of reforms. If you don't know about the Palestinian Authority, y'all, just think of it as like, it's basically, to take a very stark and disturbing example, it's like the capos in the concentration camps, who were Jews, who were also prisoner in the concentration camps, but they were given certain carrots,
privileges.
Yeah, certain privileges by the people who ran the concentration camps if they could prove that they were brutal enough to do so. So that's basically what the Palestinian Authority is.
It's kind of similar to black police officers in the United States.
Or that's another good example. So basically, Netanyahu, all you really need to know about this is that Netanyahu thinks it's a great idea and has called Trump the best friend that Israel's ever had. But
also, and let me know if I'm allowed to cut to this for a minute, Netanyahu has admitted that this is essentially a trap. He said this in Hebrew, basically saying the entire plan was a ruse. He said, quote, "Instead of Hamas isolating us, we turned the tables and isolated Hamas. Now the entire world, including the Muslim and Arab world, is pressuring Hamas to accept the terms we set together with President Trump, to release all our hostages, both living and deceased, while the IDF remains in most of the Strip." In other words, says this article, by his own admission, the deal was intended to get international pressure onto Hamas to give up its for Hamas to give up its leverage while Israel continues the genocide in Gaza. Netanyahu went on to say, "Who would have believed this? After all, people always say you must accept Hamas's terms, get everyone out. The IDF should withdraw. It can also rehabilitate the Strip. No way, that's not happening." So not only is he admitting that this is a hoax and a trick, but he also says there's no way the IDF is leaving. So that's part of the plan, is the IDF leaving, but he's admitting that's not true. So,
well, and also, as opposed to actual peace deals or ceasefires or anything where people go to the table, this is not what's happening. Trump has basically said that Hamas has 3 to 4 days to accept the deal, not discuss the deal, not come back with something. No, you just accept it. Or, as he said, he will back Israel to, quote, finish the job. So essentially do what it's doing now, but he will back it in ways that he hasn't already backed it. Like he's already, I'm not sure how you could back it more as the president of the United States. I don't start just wearing an IDF uniform into the Oval Office. I'm not sure how more you could back it, really.
I guess it's a very slight, behind closed doors, there have been moments that Trump has been slightly upset with Netanyahu or wanted slightly different things than Netanyahu did. Not really publicly, but but behind closed doors.
It's kind of like in Obama's book where he talks about how he wishes he could have done more. And you're like, holy shit, I wish someone was more powerful than you. Hold on a sec. Checks notes.
I wish you could have known someone powerful. Yeah. But so it's possible that this and Ukraine actually have some similarities right now. Trump, threw out those odd statements about recently about how Russia's a paper tiger and we're just going to give a bunch of weapons to NATO and then NATO can do with them as they please. This is actually Trump kind of throwing up his hands and being like, well, I couldn't create peace in the proxy war in Ukraine, so I'm just going to give the weapons to NATO. You guys deal with it. I'm out. And he's basically wiping his hands of Ukraine in a certain way. It doesn't mean they're going to stop getting U.S. weapons, but it means he's going to stop trying to do anything with it and instead just let it play out, which is it's a giant human meat grinder right now, that war, that proxy war. But there's some similarities to that maybe with this, where Trump's kind of like, yeah, now I can do whatever the fuck he wants, and I'm going to move on and worry about other things.
Which I'm not sure what it is that he worries about, the live pig situation. I don't know.
I think making sure that trans people are afraid to go outside. That takes up a lot. That takes up a lot of his time. Also, they're turning the frogs gay. We got to deal with that. So.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about the gay frogs.
You forgot about the gay frogs? That's all half of this country has thought about for a long time now. So, on a similar topic, and don't worry, we're getting up. We're moving on to the government shutdown here in a minute, but we wanted to talk about the Gaza flotilla, which is now in what many are calling the danger zone. This is the area of international waters that Israel has no jurisdiction over, that they tend to attack ships that are coming towards Gaza. This is a live stream of the flotilla, multiple ships. Obviously, they have like 48, 50 ships or something. But these communications will probably all be cut off as Israel attacks these ships. And Israel has said that they are going to arrest everyone, deport them, and will possibly sink a lot of the ships out at sea.
And there was just 45 minutes ago, the Gaza Freedom Flotilla on Instagram posted that as most of the boats on the global Samud Flotilla live stream have gone dark, one boat, Captain Nikos, sends hearts and peace signs as they get closer to the naval blockade. So, as I understand it, there were on basically Israel's vessels menaced the flotilla's 41 vessels for several hours on Wednesday evening, which would be right now because Gaza is 7 hours ahead of us. So,
and by menace, they mean encircling them. And
before they boarded the lead boat Alma and Sirius shortly afterwards, a Novara media journalist was live streaming, and he reported a boat approaching fast, shining bright lights and spraying water before IDF soldiers jumped on board. Now they have no contact with their journalist on board that boat. And again, the only one that seems to still be, or as of 45 minutes ago, still have live stream capabilities is this one boat captained by Captain Nikos, and or I don't know if that's the name of the boat, but either way, that is the status as of now. We're recording this on Wednesday, October 1st at 3:15, by the way. So if you're listening to this tomorrow and you're like, duh, I don't know yet.
Well, that goes for everything we say. There's when you're covering topical news, at any moment, Trump could decide to start bombing Venezuela, and we're going to seem like idiots for not covering it. So I remember Charlie Kirk was killed while I was live streaming, and people were saying it in the comments, like, why isn't Lee talking about it? And it's like, I don't fucking know what's going on.
Which I feel like, should have timed that better.
I just have a steady feed of, I don't know, CNN or some shit into my ear.
So basically what this means is that as of right now, over 500 people have been abducted by Israel in international waters. And people are saying like it's a violation of international law, which yes, I think we can stop saying, I not that we should ever stop pointing out that Israel doesn't give a shit about international law, but duh. And there's the Humanity Project is giving information about the various countries that these activists come from, so that you can reach out to whom it may concern about this. Again, not like they're not aware, but the more people who flood phone lines and things like that, the better.
And just to remind everyone, this is over 50 ships from 44 people from 44 countries. I mean, this is not a small undertaking any longer. This is a shit ton of activists trying to have any impact or at least call attention to the genocide. And here's a Al Jazeera showing which waters technically Israel should like. I mean, Israel is not entitled to any of these waters. They are international waters. Then they go to Gaza waters, and Israel just is claiming jurisdiction, even though they don't have it.
And again, the flotilla comprises at least 45 boats with 497 sailors and 46 nationalities. And I do know that I believe in Italy, there's a giant strike planned for the 3rd or the 4th of October, not necessarily specifically in response to the flotilla, but in response to the ongoing genocide. And I know that folks with the flotilla have called for actions. And if you're in Baltimore, there's an action tonight down by the harbor at 5 p.m. So I'm sure that there's probably, if you look at Palestinian Youth Movement or things like that, you'll probably see other actions that are planned. And again, this is not to say that going downtown Baltimore will somehow get Israel to stop doing this. It's about showing solidarity and also about meeting other folks who are organizing on this issue. I'm not a fan of parades or whatever people want to call them. But I do think that they are very useful in building these solidarity networks so that we can actually talk about real actions to take. So do with that what you will.
Yes. And let's move on to the government shutdown and what it means. It's the U.S. government is just shut down today, and this is a fight between the two ruling elite capitalist billionaire parties, and if you believe what they're saying, it's quite likely this part of it is true. This has to do with funding for healthcare, funding for Obamacare. And the Democrats don't want the funding for certain aspects of Obamacare to stop, and the Republicans do not want to keep funding Obamacare. And of course, Obamacare was a large giveaway to insurance companies to begin with, rather than giving Americans actual free healthcare. But that note aside, let's talk about what a government shutdown means.
Well, before I get to that, I want to share it because Truth Out did some good reporting on this, but about what was going on about a week ago when Trump basically said that he would refuse to negotiate unless Democrats, quote, agree to the principles in this letter. And those principles included a slate of anti-trans measures, from bans on transgender healthcare to nationwide sports restrictions. And so, as Truth Out points out, by digging in, Trump has turned the shutdown fight into a test of whether Democrats will hold the line for their trans and queer constituents. I'm not going to hold my breath. So basically, this is a battleground that, as you pointed out, is, it's part of Trump's culture war that he wants to use to take any attention off of, whether that be Gaza or the Epstein files or climate chaos or whatever, these manufactured culture wars that, of course, end up having very real consequences for people. So I'm not discounting that, but the fact that they're made up, right? Because nobody's actually experiencing any pain or suffering because trans and queer people exist. So it's a manufactured issue in the sense that, unlike a flash flood or unlike a genocide or an ecocide, like it doesn't affect your day at all. Like, look, I'm a queer person existing. Like, it's not hurting anyone. Now when queers bash back, but that's a different conversation. But so this is kind of like, just to understand like the context of like why the government is shut down. I don't know if there's ever been a more dumb shit reason for the government to shut down something manufactured in this way.
Can I just say that he wanted to shift the view of Americans as to why the shutdown's happening to trans people, because to him, that's a winning issue. There's, trans people percentage of the population is so small that it's easy to, beat them up and use them as a scapegoat. So Trump is trying to shift it to the trans issue. They realize that fighting over healthcare funding is a losing issue for the Republicans. And so instead, it's because Democrats want trans people in your bathroom, even your home bathrooms. Like, they send people to come into your home and sit in your bathroom.
And just to be clear, like, he's couching this about sports, which just, even if that were true, like, wow, you're really just shutting down the entire government because you're afraid of trans people playing volleyball. Like, but it's not just that, right? It goes far deeper. In the Labor, Health, and Human Services and Education bill, one rider would ban any federal funds from supporting gender-affirming care at any age, even extending to behavioral or social care, which is huge, right? Because these kind of behavioral and social and mental health services are super important, especially when you're navigating a totally sick, fakaked society like the one that we live in. A strict reading would immediately strip Medicaid and Medicare coverage for transgender people. A broader interpretation could threaten any hospital providing such care with the loss of federal funds. So again, this highlights the fact that a broader reading, that it's vague, right? It's not, it's kind of like this peace plan. It's like, we're just, however you want to take this and however we want to implement it, we can come after you because it's vague enough that we leave the door open to come after you if you would even dare to give someone gender affirming care at, at a hospital that cares for people of all kinds, for all kinds of ailments. If you do this one thing, you could lose federal funds. It's totally twisted. It even prohibits pride flags. So this thing, like his little, his what did he call it? This piece of shit. The principles in this letter is so far reaching and so deeply twisted and grotesque that, but here's the thing. He is right. He is testing Democrats, and we should not expect Democrats to show up because
for anything, healthcare or trans people,
right?
or anything.
Because here's the thing. At some point, the government will reopen, right? That's going to happen. But who is going to be, under the treads of the machine that is the imperial Death Star of the United States government? Could be trans folks. It could be, more migrant restrictions. Like it could be anything, because the Democrats don't actually care about legitimately standing up for people. They care about looking like they are. So my guess is that they'll find some way to make it look like they did a thing without actually doing a thing. Now, meanwhile, let's talk about
maybe Cory Booker standing outside Congress speaking right now.
Yeah, for the next 20 hours, somebody will just be talking and nothing will change.
Cory Booker's speaking for 3 days straight. Doesn't change a fucking thing.
So during a government shutdown, there's a lot of work that closes. A lot of people point to, like, for instance, national parks. A lot of work does.
I have some numbers on the
continue. For instance, hold on. Your favorite people are still at work. FBI investigators, CIA officers,
ICE,
armed forces. But here's the thing, and I'm not asking anyone to do anything. I'm just saying that armed forces are not getting paid during a government shutdown. Now, a long time ago, your relative actually, Shays Rebellion.
You don't have to do that.
Shays Rebellion, Robert E. Lee's dad, Henry Lee, was involved in squashing something known as Shays Rebellion. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details, but it basically was that veterans from the Revolutionary War had not been paid for, basically creating a new nation. Now, we can talk about whether we feel that was a good idea or not, but they had given their lives and their livelihoods and their energy and their time and sometimes body parts to fight for this burgeoning nation that they believed in, and they hadn't been paid. Now, on top of that,
hold on, the ruling elite didn't care about them, but they fought for the fucking country. What?
Now, on top of that, the burgeoning US government didn't have funds to basically operate. So they started taking these people's farms and their actual livelihoods. That was the only thing keeping them alive because they weren't getting money. So they weren't getting paid, and now the government's coming for their, their property, which they've been told is sacrosanct, right? It's funny how hypocrisy was a thing back then too. And so they staged what was then eventually known as Shays Rebellion, and Robert E. Lee's dad ended up squashing it and killing people. And then the United States carried on in its merry way, and everything got much better. So I'm not saying
everything got much better, and they never repeated that. They were good. The United States was good to all soldiers that had fought for the United States ever since then.
Amen. So I'm just saying there have been rebellions by armed forces veterans who were not paid. So like, if you wanted to get all American values with it, which I know a lot of folks in the armed forces are into, this would be a really great value to glom onto. And again, I'm not saying anything should be done specifically. I'm just giving an historical example that I find fascinating. So anyway.
Okay, so am I now allowed to give the numbers of workers that are being... Here are some of the departments that will lose the largest number of employees furloughed. The Environmental Protection Agency with 89% of its workers, Department of Education, 87%, Department of Commerce, 81%, Labor, 76%, and Housing and Urban Development, 71%. Now, although some of those may have initially been created to somewhat help people, most of them nowadays have either been captured or actively out to allow capitalists to crush human beings even more. The Department of Commerce is a good example. I don't know what exactly happens when the Department of Commerce stops running, because I think the Department of Commerce was initially created so that corporations could more easily talk with the U.S. government and work with the U.S. government, like telling the U.S. government, is this okay for the economy and things like that, commerce to continue. Nowadays, those corporations just own the U.S. government. So I don't know why they would still need the Department of Commerce. I think you kept the middleman, even though he's no longer needed. But yeah, with Department of Education, Trump has already been working very hard to he and Linda McMahon gutting the Department of Education, which was only created in the 1970s, and it was created mainly to create, it does a lot of collecting of data to show whether, let's say, there's a lot of racism in U.S. public schools. But of course, the Trump administration and Republicans don't want that data, because why would they care if there's racism and racist policies in public schooling, et cetera, et cetera. So
ABC News is reporting that somewhere around 750,000 federal employees are expected to be furloughed. I just also want to point out something rather hilarious. I don't know if you can pull this up. There is a picture of Senate Majority Leader speaking during a news conference earlier today.
John Thune.
And it just says, he's standing behind a podium that just says the Democrat shutdown. And I think that's whoa. My chair just went back.
Oh, because that's a Republican.
No, I know, but it's that's so funny.
No, so I think
sorry. I mean, because
I think they did both. I think he had one that said the Democrats shut down, and I think the Democrats spoke in front of one that said the Republicans shut down.
This is like elementary school shit. This is
no, they always do this. Like with every shutdown. You guys may recall there was a shutdown of over a month under the last Trump administration. And during that, they, of course, both blame each other. That's how this game works. A lot of this is a lot of this doesn't fucking matter, because it's designed, like, the fight is often about the budget and raising the budget, allowing to raise the deficit and that cap and everything. But it's basically just a way to harm average Americans more, because out of these shutdowns, we never walk out of them on the other side with more rights for Americans or more funding for Americans. Basically, the best you'll get, if something is positive for Americans, is that funding that was going to be cut for Americans is not cut, or is cut slightly less. Like, these shutdowns only benefit the fucking richest sociopaths every single time.
I also want to highlight something. I mean, this is good for Trump in the sense that he gets to continue his grotesque and ultimately very creepy attack on trans and queer folks. But also, I feel like this is kind of a way, because he said on Tuesday that there would be irreversible layoffs of federal employees if lawmakers didn't reach an agreement. Now, a furlough is not a firing, right? A furlough means that you're just told not to show up to work. And according to a 2019 law, you get back pay after the shutdown is over. But the point here is that last week, the Office of Management and Budget instructed federal agencies to consider permanent layoffs of any programs not consistent with the president's priorities. So why would he release that memo last week ahead of a government shutdown? Hey, it makes it a lot easier to tell people to stop showing up for work if they're already not showing up for work because of a government shutdown, right? So, and because everyone's going to be scrambling about the government shutdown, nobody's caring about the fact that, oh, like a few thousand people just got fired from whatever the hell agency too. But, you know, we're so scrambling about the fact that the government's shut down. It's the shock doctrine, right? So I think that's also something to note and keep an eye on, because I always find it a little suspicious when some douche canoe releases a memo like that a week before something like this happens, where Trump also said layoffs are going to happen. It's like, you know, like the saying goes, if somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
It also gave him a little more leverage with the Democrats, where he could say, if you shut down the government, if you don't do exactly what I want, then I'm just going to fire more people. So it's, it's part of him being the goon he is. And of course, there's a lot of, it's easy to say, I don't care about government employees because it's not that percentage of U.S. population, is not that many people, but there are other impacts, such as there are whole streets and cities in America where government employees are basically the main funding source for all the stores and restaurants and everything like that. So there are ripple effects. I think the last one that went over 30 days, they say cost the U.S. $30 billion or whatever number of $1 billion. But, here's the thing is, I would say anytime the U.S. government is not functioning right now, probably good for most people around the world. The less functioning of this fucking bloodthirsty, psychopathic shit show, good. But the problem is a lot of the most violent aspects of it keep running.
Yeah, so that's the problem. It's like at first blush, you're like, wow, the government shut down. That's great. But then you realize that food assistance programs and, things like that, preschool subsidies, things like that are partially run by the government. So those could also shut down. Meanwhile, all of the military is told to keep showing up for work. But, Shays Rebellion. Just keep that in your hat. Yeah.
Can I move on to Pete Hegseth's amazing speech to all of the generals around the world?
I have some notes on that too.
So I'll do my take first. So most of you have already heard, probably from mainstream media, that Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump brought all of the U.S. generals from around the world to Washington, D.C. Oh, I forgot. Real quick, let me just tell you all that you should check out Eleanor's work at artkillingapathy.com. You should check out the show as a podcast. The show with me and Eleanor is called Calm and Censored. My show of my other live streams is called The Lee Camp Show on Spotify, or it's called Moment of Clarity on other platforms. Please go and support those podcasts. Also, I'm giving away a free month at leecamp.net, my locals community, free month. If you just go there, click become a supporter, and then when you're checking out, type in Lee Camp free, one word, all caps. That will get you a free month and my latest ebook for free. Okay, so they brought all the generals at great expense. Millions of dollars was used.
It's like 800 people, by the way.
To fly these generals from around the world, because we have 800, 900 military bases around the world, and these generals and higher-ups are at them. So you fly everyone around the world to this meeting in Virginia at Quantico, And Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump speak. They said, I didn't watch Trump's speech, but they said that it was like a normal campaign speech where he just does all of his normal garbage. But the mainstream media has been talking about what Pete Hegseth had to say. He is the Secretary of Defense, or now the Secretary of War, I guess, or the Secretary of Bloodthirsty Maniacs, or whatever the fuck it's called today. I do find it incredibly enjoyable that he and Trump are so dumb. And I don't think Trump's dumb about everything, but I do think he's legitimately dumb about this. It is called the Department of Defense as a form of propaganda. It was propaganda to call it the Department of Defense, to manipulate Americans and some of the world into thinking what they're doing is defense and not obliterating other countries. And yet this lunatic and Trump go, hey, it's not defense, it's war. We're calling it the Department of War. So they literally changed it back to the Department of War.
It's like that blind squirrel situation.
It finds a nut every once in a while. Yeah, it absolutely is. I'm like, yeah, call it Department of War. People will know what you actually fucking do, you lunatics. So they did that. They're also getting rid of DEI, which was a big part of his speech, was like, which is it's a dog whistle. It's code for saying we don't want black generals and women generals and things like that. But the truth is, there was the whole point. Here's another aspect of this that is just them being dumb. DEI didn't change what the U.S. military does. DEI did not stop the U.S. from murdering millions of people, and I mean murdering. 6 million in the war on terror alone. Did not stop any of that. It just put a nice little coating on it. It said, look, we have some black people in our ranks. We have some women in our ranks. So therefore, the mass murder we're doing every day is a little bit softer, a little bit better. And now these lunatics, and he is a white supremacist, Pete Hegseth. He has Crusader.
He has the tattoos to prove it.
He has his white supremacy Crusader tattoos on his body. And they are so dumb that they didn't know that's propaganda designed to cover up what the Department of War actually is doing. And so they're getting rid of DEI and all that stuff. That's what the mainstream media has largely focused on. But I want to read some of the other quotes. I just published this in Substack. Just two quick quotes by Hegseth in my Substack article. He says, we also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. He means anymore. We're not going to fight with stupid rules of engagement anymore.
I mean, we haven't.
We untie. Can I
make
my points, please? Can you not jump the punchline? And what kind of comedian just has someone up on stage just throwing away all the punchlines? He says, we untie the hands of our war fighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for war fighters. Now, here's the thing. For one, he is calling for war crimes. Yeah. He is publicly saying we need more war crimes. We have the right to commit war crimes. We have the right to commit war crimes. It's our duty to commit war crimes. He is calling for the violation of the Geneva Conventions. And this is why when we call someone war criminals, this is what we're talking about, is they're violating these laws. It is Israel committing genocide. It is Israel bombing hospitals, using human shields, everything Israel does. And he is calling for more of that. Now, that is kind of unprecedented to publicly call for war crimes. However, I will also add, the U.S. was doing all of that anyway. There was very little care for most of the Geneva Conventions anyway. The U.S. had a wide-scale torture program, which is against the Geneva Conventions. The U.S. to this day has people in Guantanamo Bay that have never been charged or tried for anything. They're just kept there, kidnapped in prison. There is the United States bombs innocent people. Under Obama, they bombed wedding parties in Afghanistan. They bomb children and they claim they're combatants. There are so many war crimes committed by our governments, not just Trump, but it goes for Biden, Bush, Obama, all of them, that it changes nothing. It just makes it that he has announced it as public policy to commit war crimes.
Yes. Okay, so I wanted to just share from this is an interview that Democracy Now! Did with Eugene Fidel, who is an expert on military law, and he served as a judge advocate in the U.S. Coast Guard. And he pointed out that, quote, I thought the notion that we're going to get tough with people, as if that's something new, was ridiculous. The difference is that until now, there's been no question about our armed forces compliance, strong efforts to comply with the rules of armed conflict. I mean, that's your opinion. But what you hear here is a replica of things that happened under Trump's first administration, where he was pardoning people that were charged with or had been convicted of highly illegal conduct in war zones. And that's kind of a green light that we're going to throw out the rule book. And so, and the other thing that he points out, he says, I think that one scary point that Hegseth made was that they were going to make sure that anyone who had made a complaint in the armed forces that was later shown not to be substantiated would themselves be subject to prosecution. Can you think of a better way to chill the filing of complaints? So a couple things are happening here, as you obviously
I have a note on complaints. Go ahead.
As you obviously pointed out, Lee, they're basically just saying commit war crimes. I should also contextualize that the US has always done war crimes. And like Obama said, we tortured some folks. So it's like the idea that this is new is bullshit. It's just that any kind of facade, right? The Department of War, any kind of trying to smooth that over or make it look or sound nice is out the window. And it's just like, we are going to make sure that they have all of the support that they need, as opposed to trying to cover it up or trying to make it sound like it was something that it wasn't. Enhanced interrogation. It's not torture, it's enhanced interrogation, right? Like that period is over. And now it's just, no, we torture people and we want to torture people and we want to be war criminals. That's our thing. And at the same time, anybody who might be interested in using said proper channels to file a complaint about some horrific shit that they saw, just know that you could then be court-martialed for speaking up.
Right. So they actually have an office of like Inspector General or whatever it's called that investigates complaints within the Pentagon and things like that. And I remember I covered it years ago when I was covering the $21 trillion of unaccountable adjustments at the Pentagon. I also covered the fact that in a footnote in one of their documents, they mentioned that only 1% of these claims were, investigated, and like 0.1% were found to be valid. And so then if you go down and look at the footnote, well, if only 1% have been investigated, how many were there? And in this tiny, tiny footnote, and we're talking in a massive document that no one ever looks at, it says over a 15-year span, there were 99,000 complaints to the office of the inspector. And those are the complaints that Pete Hegseth says they're no longer going to allow. And basically you could be court-martialed or kicked out of the military for giving those complaints. But here's what's funny is prior to Pete Hegseth saying this, they weren't doing anything about the complaints anyway. I imagine a lot of those had to do with not getting paid or not getting paid properly. A lot of them probably had to do with some sort of abuse, verbal abuse, sexual harassment. All those types of things are factored into those 99,000 complaints. And only 1% they felt worthy of investigating. And of those, it's like 0.1% were actually found to be legitimate. So Pete Hegseth is saying, like, don't fucking complain because we're not going to do shit about it. And in fact, you might get in trouble for complaining. Well, back when people could complain, they weren't doing shit about it anyway.
So I also wanted to just share this. This is a piece written on a site called usconstitution.net, and it's by someone who really loves the Constitution and this country. So I'm not reading from some like radical leftist anti-American rag here, folks. And he writes, the implication was clear. True warriors don't question orders, don't raise constitutional concerns, don't push back on policies they believe are illegal or strategically unsound. True warriors embrace the cultural transformation Hegseth demands and implement it ruthlessly. That's not traditional warrior ethos. That's authoritarian loyalty rebranded with military language. Traditional warrior ethos recognizes that following illegal orders dishonors the military profession. I told you you liked it. It acknowledges that officers have a duty to refuse commands that violate the Constitution or military law. End quote. So, and this is a point that's been brought up by veterans before, that when you take the oath, you promise, or I don't know what the word is, you take the oath to protect the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. And that the idea, at least, supposedly with regards to that oath, is that you are protecting, you are pledging allegiance to the Constitution and to the ideals of the United States, not to a political party. But what this author is pointing out was that this was about political loyalty, not loyalty to a nation, right? And again, we can have conversations about whether anybody should pledge allegiance to any kind of nation, state, and borders and all of that shit. But even just within the confines of the conversation of I'm joining the military, I love the military, I want to be part of the military. Okay, cool. And also, then your objective, your goal is to then make sure that you are loyal to not a political party, not some lunatic that's just telling you to do things, but that you are loyal to the baseline, the foundations, right? And this was supposedly the point, is what this author is arguing. This was supposedly the point, so that no matter who comes into office, the soldiers can't just be like swooped up, like, I don't know, a la Hitler, and used for that person's own demagoguery, right?
Yeah.
That they would remain as part of the fabric of the country and not just, used for the whims of some like absolute psychopath. And yet that's what we see happening here. So there's also this, the man who was on Democracy Now! Pointed out that all of these generals should be checking with legal counsel after this meeting and checking what they should and can be doing in response. And also, I'd say that service members have the same role. If you, obviously, that this went down because all of a sudden the general that you had that was with you in, I don't know, pick a military base around the world is gone. And it's like, wait, what did they tell him to do? What? And so this is part of that oath that you took. And so it's important to recognize that there is a role, not just for us on the outside, but for folks inside the military machine to look at this and be like, nope.
Yeah, if they were moral and if they had a backbone, then they would, various people within the military would say this is completely unacceptable. This is not what I stand for or anything else. But you see in a lot of these organizations that people just cave. I mean, we're seeing it across the liberal America right now, corporations that have a lot of power, that, whether it be social media corporations or media corporations or all of these groups, they see what's going on and they just cave to it because these are not actually moral or strong human beings that are running these groups. They're just caving to fascism when at the slightest push. So, but they're going to put a sign in the yard that will probably change everything, I think.
What does it say?
It says, I don't like fascism.
Oh.
Meh. All right. If you want to read my article on it, that's at realleecamp.substack.com. Okay. I intentionally did not show you this because I knew you'd enjoy it.
Oh.
No, literally enjoy it.
Oh.
I'm not being
sarcastic.
I'm not being sarcastic. This is the FBI rolling. It's about a minute and a half long, I think. This is the FBI rolling up to someone's house to just chat with him. They just want to chat with him about some of his social media posts. Just FBI come to chat with you.
Here we are. Major O'Donnell with the FBI. Can you give your full name, please? Major O'Donnell with the FBI. Is that sufficient to identify as the only one O'Donnell affiliated with the FBI? In New Hampshire, yes. Could you please state your full name, sir? Could you please stop recording? No. It's First Amendment right. Okay. What's your name, sir? Absolutely not. You can show me your name and identification, or I'm going to go back inside my house. Okay. I don't really want to broadcast. Oh, this is going out right after you guys walk away. So you can show me your name and ID. You can walk away. We I'm not going to talk to people who claim to be federal agents unless they can show me identification.
Right.
You see our badges?
I need to see. Is your full name on that badge?
No.
I'd like to see something with your full name, or I'm not going to talk to you.
I'm free not to broadcast it.
This will be going online as soon as you walk away.
Well, all I want to do is talk to you about a post that was made, and if you
Well,
happen to be the one that made it.
I want to talk to you about you guys coming here. Say you make a salary of, I don't know what, low 100K? You guys making six figures? Factor in 50% expenses, overhead, maybe 100% expenses. Talking about burning a couple $100 an hour just here, let alone all the time you guys are spending to investigate something that you know is not against the law, right? Like you're familiar with. So then why would you come?
Because we wanted to make sure that there weren't any.
No, you're coming because you're part of a regime that does this kind of thing when you know laws aren't being broken. And that's an embarrassment, man. Didn't you guys read the Constitution? Do you not believe in America? Like, how do you do your jobs and go home?
We appreciate it.
You're walking away. Because nothing we did is against the law, and you guys are fuckheads that try to act like bullies. And I hope you go home and are embarrassed. You can't even say your name on camera because you know that what you're doing is embarrassing. You know Americans that believe in the Constitution think you're laughable. And you go home and you think about what you did today. Go home and think about it, you cowards.
Oh.
Drive away. Drive away.
Thank you for your time.
You're not welcome. You should be embarrassed. Embarrassing. You guys are embarrassing.
Oh my God. I want to be friends. I love you. I want to be friends with this person.
No notes.
No notes. No notes whatsoever. You are amazing. Whoever is behind the camera, and I hope we never find out their name. I love it. Love it. Love it so much. Yes, and thank you. Thank you for
You don't have to speak to them.
You don't have to speak to them, and you don't have to stop filming. And yeah, Agent O'Donnell, first of all, I mean, wow. I love that there's only one O'Donnell associated with it. Oh my God. Yes. It's like Agent Smith. Okay, sure. That tracks. Thank you.
I mean, he was pretty awful in The Matrix, though.
That's awesome.
What an asshole in The Matrix.
True. Oh my God. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and you know, please stop filming. Oh no, we just want to talk with you. You have no obligation to talk to them. You have it really is, and they should be ashamed. They're fucking trying to intimidate people into not posting things online. And what's even funnier is this is fucking Trump's America, right? This is like he has pushed more of these FBI, you know, invasions of people's homes. Not that it wasn't going on before, so I don't want to pretend it's just Trump, but he rode into town on the backs of all the voters who were like, yeah, get the government, drain the swamp, get the government out of my fucking yard. And then he's like, now we're going to send the government into your yard. Like,
dude, that was amazing. That person, love. So much love. Just also wanted to. Do you
have something? But we're gonna wrap up. I'm gonna give an extra segment to everybody over at Locals. I'll tell you how to join if you want to join for free in a second. But do you have anything else?
Just that the latest from the Global Samud Flotilla is that they are confirming that that all live streams and communications have been cut, and the status of participants and crew remains unconfirmed. And they've released videos and calls for people to.
So basically, most of you might know this. They send videos to be released if their communications are cut off that say our communications have been cut off, we've been kidnapped, etc. So that's how those videos get out, is that they're already out and they're only released by people working with them if that's happened. And that is now going on. Like, those videos are being released saying we've been kidnapped.
There's also a video. I recommend people check out. I mean, you can look up the flotilla online. They do have a website, although I think that it's down at the moment because it's down because they said that they're setting up updates. But you can look up on what's it called on your favorite website, Instagram.
My favorite website.
On Instagram, the Global Samud Flotilla has been putting up these videos. One video that they shared from about an hour ago with one of the organizers, it gets a radio call from the IDF, and they basically threaten him, and he says, "We carry food, aid, water, filters, crutches, baby formula to people you have been starving to death." And then it just stops. And because there's no response to that, is there?
Yeah.
Except to just continue being genocidal fuckheads. So that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, you're going to do your extra thing. I'm going to skip.
Don't scoot yet. Holding you here. Holding you hostage. Please tell everybody where they can follow your work.
So my stuff is up at artkillingapathy.com. Working on a little bit of a redesign there. And the Project Censored radio show that I do every week is up at projectcensored.org.
Okay. And for anybody who wants to see the extra segment, which I'm going to do right now over at Locals and Patreon, all you have to do, and you can get it for free, is go over to leecamp.net, scroll down to become a supporter, then use promo code when you're checking out, LeeCamp free, one word, all caps, LeeCamp free. And that will get you a free month. It will also get you my newer ebook, Dangerous Ideas, and you will be supporting this show. And that would be awesome. So you can, if you aren't already a Locals member, you can do it over there. If you're a Patreon member, this extra segment will also air at Patreon. I will be back tomorrow for Unredacted Tonight. I hope you'll check that out, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be back Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern for another live stream. I hope to see you there. And everybody at Locals and Patreon, just hang in there. I will be with you in just a second.